everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today I'm back with another townhouse build, and this one is going to be for occult sims. I had the idea to create 3 townhouses for 3 different occults, and I think this would be a really fun one to play on, especially because of the way these occults may or may not get along. I had some ideas about that while I was building this because I have a vampire living directly next to a werewolf, and they don't exactly like each other. And then on the other side, there is a spellcaster on this lot as well, and I just thought that those would be a fun combination of occults to include on this lot. If you'd like to see other occults on a lot at some point, maybe some townhouses or apartments for maybe like aliens and mermaids and things like that, do let me know. I'd be interested in doing that as well. But for today, we are sticking with those 3 that I had mentioned, and we are building in the world of Glimmerbrook, which came with the Realm of Magic game pack. So it is the world that came with Spellcasters, and I didn't really know what style I wanted to go for here other than I wanted them all to look different and be connected. And so I started by making the Spellcaster in the middle, but as you can see here, I now moved it over to the left side. And then I'm starting to just place down some windows and paints and try and figure out what sort of style I want to go for. I ended up using a lot of the items from each of the pack's like items. So basically I used a lot of Realm of Magic for the Spellcaster, vampires for the vampire, and werewolves for the werewolf, but there are some exceptions to that. And I thought it was fun because usually when I decorate homes for Spellcasters, I tend to make it more like cottagey and lean into growing together more so than Realm of Magic. So it was really fun to use some different items. I also tried to use some of the castle pack here, and I actually ended up using this wallpaper on the Spellcaster instead of the vampire, so that's kind of interesting. It was definitely a long process coming to the outside shape of all of these and the finished wallpapers, and this is going to be another one of those longer builds. Not quite as long as the Seasons townhouses I posted recently, but this is still quite a long video for me, so I hope you enjoy it. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the longer builds, so I'd like to keep them coming, and I'm hoping to be doing some more big builds like this over on my Twitch channel. This one was built there as well, as was the Seasons one, so I think it's a little bit more fun and attainable when I can sit down and hang out with everyone while I build these, and then I turn them into speed builds for YouTube. So I guess it's kind of like a plug for my Twitch channel right now. If you'd like to go ahead and follow over there, I'm live 3 to 5 days a week over on twitch.tv/Gryphi. I'd love to have you join us. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern time most of the days, and then when I stream on Sundays, that is at 2 p.m. Eastern. But right now, I am trying to figure out the roofing, and this is not what this is going to look like whatsoever, but I did want to keep in as much as possible to show you the process because it was a lot of fiddling and a lot of being unsure on the shapes and not being happy with it and thinking about bulldozing, but I didn't. I kept going with it, and I'm really happy that I did because I think it came out really cool in the end, and these bigger builds can definitely be very intimidating, so sometimes you just gotta stick through it and keep trying things, and you get there in the end. I know it's really difficult to stick with big builds, but it's been a fun time doing some more of these. I'm, of course, always going to have apartments and tiny houses on the channel as well, but I've been having a lot of fun doing some bigger builds, and I'm hoping to have some more soon. So here I am, finally deciding what the shape of this house is going to be, and deciding to get a like rooftop area for the Spellcaster house, and then I'm starting to do the roofing here for the vampire house. I wanted it to feel like it was closed into this roof space. I wanted like minimal windows. That's why the vampire is on the middle house, because then there's only windows in the front and in the back. I do end up adding a couple side ones on that top floor there, but for the most part, it has the least windows of all of the spaces, and I really liked that. It made the most sense to me, so that is why I did the orientation that I did for each of these houses. But I'm moving this little tower I created over because I liked the idea of having it, but I thought it would look better on this side. So I'm just doing that now, playing around with it. It's very messy at this point, just trying to figure out how to lay everything out. Like I had the idea, but it was just quite the process. So yeah, just adding some of these bump outs here. I don't end up keeping it as 3. I'm pretty sure I go down to 2. Yeah. So I'm playing around with that now, adding some roofing, painting everything, and I don't end up even keeping that texture on the outside of the house. But here I'm being like, okay, this is going to be a rooftop space. What kind of wallpaper and flooring do I want up here? I wanted to have like a cauldron on the roof. I thought that would be a really fun use of that area. And the werewolves end up having a rooftop area as well. It's just the vampires don't, because I didn't think they really needed it. But then over here, I'm starting to work on the shape of the werewolves house. And this one took me ages to figure out. It ends up being a really weird shape. I kind of wanted it to be a little silly and thrown together and strange orientations, because I was thinking it was just like whatever they could throw together. I was imagining quite a few werewolves here. They're just kind of crashing here, kind of destroying the place in their rampages. They're taking in strays. So there are lots of like sleeping bags inside and trash, and just it's a mess. And I really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was a fun way to decorate. So I think they're probably going to be getting into a lot of fights with their neighbors, the vampire who wants nothing to do with them. And then the spellcaster is probably frustrated with the neighbors too, because they have this really grumpy vampire next door and these really loud werewolves, and they just want some peace and quiet. And I ended up having like a whole storyline of what each of these sims were like. So you have an idea of the werewolf and the vampire relationship now, but I did imagine that the spellcaster is a sim who does a lot of fostering and always has like a baby or a toddler in the house. So there's a little nursery there. There's this baby that's trying to sleep, and they've got these loud fighting neighbors. I just think this would be such a chaotic, fun lot to play on. And a lot of that storyline came from chat coming up with ideas while I was live building this. So that was so much fun. And I feel like that kind of conversation really adds to what we come up with for a build and how different items are used in the space to really tell that story. And I always really enjoy that. But as you can see, I'm still playing around with the outside of this particular unit. I don't know how I want it to look. I'm dragging around the front porch and these bump outs and painting everything. And it just took a really long time. But all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, what if we add a diagonal piece? And that's when it starts coming together. So I should be doing that here shortly. I was just staring at it for a while, unsure what to do. And I tried to do like a wraparound porch, and it just, nothing was working. There was just like something off about it, and I couldn't figure out what. And that was the most frustrating part. When you know what's not working, it's easy to fix it. But if you're not sure what the problem is, like how do you go about changing that? So at this point, I'm just fiddling with the roof here and really not liking it, getting kind of frustrated. And we're going to keep doing that for a little while here. So I'm just duplicating some more roof pieces. And I'm glad I kept in some of this process. If you'd like to see like the full build or like the full process, you can watch that VOD over on the Twitch channel. But I did try to include quite a bit of this since it did take so long. And I think that's quite realistic. Just trying different things, different roof shapes, different everything to figure out why it didn't feel like this space was working. And I'm glad that it came together okay in the end, because at this point I was still kind of feeling like, okay, maybe I just abandoned this. This doesn't look right. I don't know if I like it. And then I'm playing around with windows. I was like, okay, we're just going to delete the front porch. We'll worry about it later. Let's play with these windows. And I really wanted to use these ones that are from the Werewolves pack because, of course, they fit the style really well. I was trying to really use the packs that each occult came with. And that was really fun because I think these are such beautiful windows and doors. And I don't remember if I ended up keeping them or not because I changed my mind so many different times. But I do use these windows and doors, specifically the doors, pretty often in builds. So either way, I think it's fine. Also, I changed the colors of the Spellcaster house many, many times. So you'll see that process now where I'm starting to go back and forth because I realized I had that rich red color over on the werewolf side. So I wanted to get rid of it for the Spellcaster house because I really wanted them all to feel like they were different and unique from each other. I didn't want them to all match because I was imagining 3 very different occults living in these townhouses. But I was glad that I changed the color because I ended up using this gorgeous round window that has like the moon stained glass on it. And I love how that looks. I have it backwards because I'm pretty sure the way I have it placed is supposed to be the inside, but I really liked how the round portion without that like bottom section looked on the outside. So that's what I opted for here. And then I'm just playing around with what other windows I want to have on this house. I changed this so many times. I know that's been like the trend of this whole video, but seriously, when I was streaming this, I felt like so confused on how I wanted this to look. It's it was one of those very indecisive builds. And I was like, why is anyone still watching this? I've been changing the color in the windows on this one building for like 2 hours. And I was very thankful that anyone was still there and glad that I could cut a lot of that process out. But you can see me playing around with some of these here. Part of the problem was the wood swatch on that circle window pretty much does not exist in other windows in the game. So I had to decide, do I want to get rid of the window? Do I want to have windows that are black or a brown that doesn't match the brown that I have? The only window that really kind of matched was the one I used above it right now, which is from the Jungle Adventure game pack, but I'm pretty sure I get rid of that in the end because I just didn't like it. But it took a lot of fiddling, and basically I just keep going back and forth between all 3 townhouses as I get frustrated with like color swatches or not sure how I want something to look. I'm like, okay, well, I have 2 other townhouses. We'll go work on one of the other ones. So we're back on the vampire's house, and I'm starting to place down a bunch of windows, of course, from the vampire's pack. And these are so beautiful. I really enjoy using these, and I feel like I'm going to continue to use them in vampire builds and lots of other builds. I'm hoping to do some more townhouses sometime soon, specifically some New York City brownstones. And I think that the windows from vampires would look really beautiful on those. And I'm hoping that can come together pretty soon. I think I'm going to stream it because I started creating something with that concept weeks and weeks ago, like last year when For Rent first came out. And no matter what I did, I just didn't like how it came out. So I kind of abandoned the idea, but I still really want to do it. So hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks, that'll be on the channel. But anyway, I have once again changed the entire shape of the werewolf's house. And it has this diagonal portion now, which I really like. And I got this beautiful like log siding, which is from, I believe that's from Horse Ranch. And I just really liked that. And then here is that stone that I decided to go ahead and put on the Spellcaster home. And I changed to siding for the vampires. And I just think this is starting to come together so well at this point. I know it took a while because I was so indecisive. But I think it was worth it. I think these look really nice and feel very different from each other. And obviously we still have the entire interior of all 3 of these to do, but the outside is starting to actually come together 12 minutes into the video. So I'm glad about that. Just playing around with some of the trims and all of that to get all of the details that I'd like to on the vampire house. Moving all the windows around so that it doesn't feel like they're being covered by that trim, and getting all of our roof trim as well, and playing around with this roof piece too, which is bordering onto the werewolf's balcony, which I thought was fun because it looks nice, but also I feel like the neighbors would hate that. The werewolves would hate it and the vampire would hate it. The werewolves would hate that the vampire can watch them, and the vampire would really hate that they have a window right up to where the werewolves are out like partying at night. I did include lots of fun activities up there for them. So I ended up boarding that up a little bit later. I thought that was quite fun, especially because that attic space I was imagining was a space that the vampire hangs out in quite a bit. You'll see when we get to the interior of that home what I was imagining there. But for right now, I'm just getting the paint on the floors, getting our wood tiles here, or wood flooring, basically just figuring out what flooring I want to have for this entryway, putting down the stairs, and figuring out that final placement of the windows and the doors. These windows from base game really fit perfectly for this house. I think they are so nice. As you can see, I didn't end up keeping these stuff from the werewolves pack at all, but I still feel like this has that same vibe as the stuff that came with that pack. A little bit more rustic and woodsy, and I really liked that. I also really wanted to add this like metal awning over the window. And then I did go ahead and add some of these flower boxes that are from werewolves and a pea bush outside. Chat suggested that we needed to have that for our werewolves. I thought it was quite funny, so I did that. And then we are just drawing out some fences in the backyards for all of these Sims to have. I have pretty much the same one on the Spellcaster and Werewolf side. And then we have just a metal portion in the back of the vampire's backyard, which doesn't have much in it because I don't think they're using it very often. I tried to really keep all of that in mind with the items that I had in each house. And so I imagine, the vampire probably has company over, so there's bathrooms and a kitchen and all of that. But things might not be used as often, and there might be spaces that the other houses might not have for each of the occults. So like we have an area for like making potions and stuff in the Spellcaster house. You might not necessarily need that in the other ones. And I also tried to tailor the landscaping outside to each of the households as well. So we have some like dead trees out front in the vampire house and some of these dead bushes. There's more overgrown grass and stuff for the werewolves as well as the pea bush. And outside of the Spellcaster a little bit later, I'm going to be adding some really giant crystals, which I thought were gorgeous. I didn't think to add those till later. It was a suggestion from chat as well. So you won't see those right away, but I think they are a really nice addition and really make that area pop. But I did use these debug items to have a sort of low-lying fence around where I have the mailboxes out front, just to line it a little better. I thought that worked quite well, and it sort of needed something because you can't have fences right up to the end of the lot, but I felt like it felt so abrupt, the ending here. And this is a lot that normally I believe a bar is on in Glimmerbrook. It's the Elixirs and Brews lot. Also, I liked this. We put a bunch of garlic outside of the werewolf's house to keep the vampire next door away. And I also have a grave in the front yard of the vampire. I just felt like it was appropriate. It was exactly what we needed. But I thought the garlic was such a nice touch. So we end up having that on the front door as well as some upstairs on their third floor balcony where they hang out. And I'm getting some lavender around as well as some more bushes and just trying to decorate all of that space. And then we are starting to decorate up here where I have boarded up that window. We have a telescope as well as a punching bag. I put the vertical planter from Eco Lifestyle up here. Chat and I were thinking that the werewolves could have a meat wall up here. It just felt very on theme for them. And then I have a couple of chairs and stuff and some like old tires. I will be getting the bubble blower at some point, and I put the chairs connected to that. But it wasn't, it is right away. I thought it was a little bit later than now that I did that. And so I should be getting another chair to put on that, the little stool from the Jungle Adventure game pack. And then we're moving on to the rooftop for the Spellcaster where I have this really gorgeous set of flowers as well as a cauldron and a few different brooms hanging up here. I thought that was fun. There's also lots of herbs and a seating area with a couple of rugs. I just wanted this to be like a really pretty magical area. And there's a staircase leading up to here. I could have done a ladder, but I liked the idea of there being a staircase. So that's what I opted for in the end. And then there is like a closed-in room since I didn't want to have outdoor lighting on the interior. But moving to the interior of the house now. We're starting in the kitchen. I do end up just kind of like figuring out the layout before we actually decorate the space. So I placed down some counters and then I'm figuring out the wall placement and where I want to have like dining versus living and all of that. And then we'll actually get to decorating. But I do end up using those counters and those beautiful windows in the kitchen. And I think they're so stunning. And I actually ended up using the fireplace here from Realm of Magic. I don't know if I've ever used it before because I kind of hate it. I kind of think it's ugly. But I really wanted to use it because I was really pushing myself to use more of the items from that pack in this build since I always steer for more of a, cottagey witch like I had mentioned. So I really wanted to lean into this style, which was really fun. And I'm glad that I did that. I'm bringing in some of those herbs into the kitchen and decorating the counters with some books and this floating crystal. I didn't end up having cabinets in here. I thought that they looked a little weird. So I ended up going with this set of shelves instead, which is from the Cool Kitchen Stuff Pack, and we're adding a birdhouse in the kitchen. Chat keeps requesting it, so I'm going to keep adding it. And then over by the front door, I do have a place to hang up a broom as well as some coat storage. And then I thought about putting this like spell or potion cabinet there, but I'm pretty sure I get rid of that in the end. But I do really like the floor. Oh my gosh. The carpet that I put in front of the sink in there. I thought it was really pretty. And then the one here as well with all of the moons on it, the moon phases. It's gorgeous. I paired it with this round table from Horse Ranch and these chairs here, which are from the Paranormal Stuff Pack. And just tried to bring in a lot of those colors. I used a lot of paranormal in this build, actually. I think it works really well with Realm of Magic, which makes sense. And then I'm trying to figure out these sofas. And I actually end up using a couple of love seats that came with the High School Years expansion pack. So I should be grabbing those here now. I think they are so, so pretty. And they really helped make this space feel like it came together. I also used this rug from Seasons in a swatch I don't think I've ever used. I was just having a lot of fun with the decorations in here and imagining the spellcaster that lives in this space. And I think it looks so, so fun. So I do have some more artwork over here, some bookcases, grabbing a coffee table with a couple of things on it, and I have a few frames as well. And this side table from City Living is gorgeous. I always forget it exists, but when I get to use it, I'm always really excited about it because it's so pretty, all the intricate details, and the mirrored top. And then these are a couple of paintings that are actually from Werewolves, but I feel like they feel kind of witchy, so I decided to add those in here. And of course, a lamp, and I believe a couple of things for a cat and a blanket basket. Because I did imagine that this sim has a cat. I thought it was only appropriate, so we have a cat bed in front of the fireplace. I also decided to add a meditation stool over here for the sim to go ahead and use. And then we are heading upstairs to work on the floor plan and figure out where each room is going to be and figure that out accordingly. I also wanted to lay out the top floor as well. There's a different layout in each house, as you would imagine, because they're all slightly different sizes and different shapes. And like I mentioned, there's different types of room in each one. So I think that was kind of fun. But this is going to be the primary bedroom. I'm using the matching bed that matches the love seats that I have downstairs from high school years. I think it works beautifully for this house. Lots of purples and blacks and the moon phases and the matching rug in here as well. And then these bedside tables are actually from the Seasons expansion pack. I just thought the colors worked nicely for the space. And I got a couple of spell books and potions and other books. And of course, a mirror and a wardrobe in this space as well. And I decided to bring in some of that stone from outside to really accent this space and break it up a little bit from the wallpaper that I was using, which is also from Realm of Magic. And it's really, really pretty. And then, of course, I added a vanity in there. But we're moving on into the baby room, the room with a bassinet. I didn't imagine this was for an infant. I was imagining it was for a newborn because I really wanted to use the bassinet that came from Realm of Magic because it's such a gorgeous piece. Look at that, cloth above it, and it's in a dark black color, and I just decided to go all out with the purple in this space and get a couple of toys and stuff around. Obviously a newborn's not going to be able to use them, but you can swap that bassinet out for a crib as you have an infant in that space that might actually play with some of the toys. But this is going to be the bathroom on this floor. I wanted to make sure we had a tub because there's going to be a baby on this floor. And I liked the idea of trying to make it look like it was built in under this round window. That was the perfect spot to have a bathroom, is under that gorgeous stained glass window. So that's what I did. And I'm just adding lots of candles and towels and crystals all around this space, as well as a place for your Sims to use the sink. We have some flowers in here, brought in that same wallpaper from downstairs, and just got a bunch of bathroom decor here. So a hair dryer and soaps and all of that. It's a pretty cute bathroom, I think. I don't have too much fun with bathrooms usually because I just don't think they're that exciting, but this one was so different and so I really enjoyed it. I even added some flowers and candles over here from the Wedding Stories game pack. I thought that they worked perfectly in this space. And then I used a yoga mat as a towel, or not as a towel, as a bath mat, because it had the moon phases on it. So I decided to do that. But we're moving upstairs again to the third floor, and this landing area is sort of an office. So I have a desk over here and a plant and another fireplace, and we're just going to get a seating area for your Sims to read some books. So I have this gorgeous egg chair, and I also put a cat tree there. And then through this room over here, I was thinking this one was more so storage attic space. So I just put a bunch of books and boxes and an old rug in there. And then we have a bathroom through this space, which I just wanted to make sure it had everything that it needed. And that should be it for this floor before we move on, because we already finished the rooftop in this house. So we should be moving on to the vampire house here shortly. I just got a bath mat outside of that bath and a bath robe. And then this is going to be the backyard. I forgot we did this first before we move to the vampire's house. So I believe I just get a place for your Sims to sit down and eat and a couple of seats out here. The wind chime, the bunny area, so your Sims can have bunnies. And then these are those crystals I had mentioned earlier. So I'm grabbing some of those in the backyard and also putting some in the front yard as well. I just think it looks so nice for this concept, since I really wanted to make it be obvious from just looking at them that which house was for which occult. And I think I achieved that, but you can let me know what you think. So anyway, we're in the vampire's house now. It's starting to work on a floor plan. I did not know how I wanted this to be laid out, so I'm just playing around with it as we go. And the stairs are all generally stacked on top of each other, so they end up being in very similar spaces. So I did have to work around that. And then I'm just placing down some items where I think I might want to have them. And I also have a basement in the vampire's house. I don't have that in the other two townhouses, but I thought it was important for the vampire to have a basement space, so I did decide to include that. And then I'm going to have an actual sort of formal entryway. And what I mean by that is it's closed off from the living room, and it's in its own little arched area. I did really want to use this fireplace from Vampires, but it's just so big, so I couldn't use it in the end. I do get rid of it and opt for a different one. I try a few different ones, but I'm pretty sure I ended up using the one from Vintage Glamour in the end. And then I scaled down some bookcases over here, which were so pretty, and we end up with a portrait of Vlad up above the fireplace, which is so fun. I quite enjoyed that. The sofa I'm using in here is actually from Cottage Living, but I feel like it matches really nicely for the vibe I was going for in this space. And that rug, I think it's from the Paranormal Stuff pack, but up here on the fireplace, I did want to have an urn, some decorations like that bird skull. I also have a rose up there, some candles, and the chair I'm using here actually is from the Vampires game pack. I really like that chair. It's just kind of hard to use because it's so tall and very stylized, but I think it looks nice here. And of course, adding some more candles in this space. I loved how that came out. And then I'm just moving some stuff around as I figure out which table and where I want to have the chairs and stuff. I get more of these flowers that I used actually in the Spellcaster house next door. And then we got that hutch over here. And then this is going to be where the dining table is when you first enter in the house. I got some curtains to really cover up that front entryway and a couple of chairs around there, a plant, some artwork, and then we're moving on into the kitchen space. I did end up using the counters from Vampires here in the black and white swatch. I thought that they looked quite nice. I don't think this kitchen is getting a lot of use, but I still wanted it to look nice. So I tried to get appliances and stuff that looked quite new and modern and like everything to be kind of pristine, except there's some cobwebs in here. So you'll see that here shortly. And I don't remember what tile I used in the kitchen for the backsplash anyway. I'm pretty sure I used one of these for the tile on the floor. Yeah. Okay, I used the one from Home Chef Hustle. That's really nice. So yeah, just getting some decorations here. We have some sweets and some roses. I always think of Vampires as being a little bit romantic. So I guess that's why I included that in this space. I guess the exception would be Vlad. Vlad is like the opposite of romantic. But I mean, he is Vladdy Daddy, so it's fine. But anyway, in here, I decided to get a lamp over on the counter as well as a cute little rug there. And then I'm getting some runner rugs in these hallways in front and behind the steps. And then upstairs, getting some doors into the room. So this is going to be the primary bedroom, of course, using the bed from Vampires as it is gorgeous. Depending on which type of vampire you have, there is one of the perks, or I guess it's a flaw. One of the things that your vampires can have is the inability to sleep in beds. They have to sleep in coffins. That's not every vampire. That's just one of the things that you can have. So I did make sure to include coffins in this house as well. So your Sims have options on where they can rest. But I did want to have a primary bedroom regardless. So this is how that ends up being decorated. I changed the swatches a lot. I was very indecisive on the bed. But I think it came out okay in the end. And of course, using another one of these chairs up here and a gorgeous wardrobe, a nice light. Swapping out the light for the plant. And then this is just sort of a spare bedroom. I decided that would be a good use of the space here since the attic here ends up being more of a living space for the vampire. And I didn't really imagine that there was multiple vampires living here. So I thought having a guest room for maybe mortal visitors would be nice. So that is what that space is. And then we're just decorating the bathroom on this floor using Vampires things, matching the rest of the house, the same tiles I used in the kitchen. I think it looks nice. It's a very simple one. It's very small too. But we're upstairs in the attic now. And in this front window space, I decided to have an area for you to play chess. And then over here, I am creating an area of curtains surrounding like a really beautiful coffin. I think this is going to be the person that lives here, the vampire that lives here's coffin, that they will sleep in if they don't want to sleep in the bed or if they can't sleep in the bed downstairs. This is going to be their kind of oasis away from everyone. So I wanted to create that up here, and we have some books and a couple of chairs. There's also an organ up here. I just wanted this to be kind of like a quiet study / sleeping space for this vampire. And there's also a globe bar. So if they want to have a nice drink before bed, that would be nice as well. And then in the basement here, I do have some extra coffins. So if they have vampire company, or maybe if they, go ahead and change some Sims into vampires, there is a place to house those Sims, and they have, an area to sleep. I guess the vampire that lives here could also rest down here if they wanted, but I just wanted this to look like an old basement. So there's so many of these stains on the walls from all of the different packs. I also have a a beaten up old rug and some books and stuff down here. It's quite gross, but I thought it looked really nice and worked for the storyline I was thinking. So that's what I opted for. We also got a candelabra and a couple more paintings on the walls. And then outside in their backyard, I just have a bunch of dead rose bushes, some dead grass, and we might have put another grave back here. I don't remember, but I do know that I put lots of dead grass because I just don't imagine they come out here very often. So it's probably in a state of disrepair. And yeah, we put a couple more graves back there. Very nice. But moving on to our final townhouse, which is for werewolves. This one is the messiest and the most thrown together because that's kind of what I imagined their home would be like. I was imagining quite a few wolves living here, and I think there's more spaces to sleep in here than you could actually house in a single household because I was, like I said, thinking they were taking in strays and, you know, Sims could just stay over. Think Kyle Kyleson, but werewolf. So upstairs, there ends up being a couple of bedrooms, but one of them just has like tons of sleeping bags on the floor, and I thought it looked really cool. But in the kitchen space here, I am using these counters from base game that are a little bit more like industrial, and I also really liked the curtains I used throughout this space in the kitchen in particular. That one's from the Spooky Day stuff pack, and it's just like really tattered, and I really liked that. I do use these ones from Werewolves as well. That's just like a sheet pinned up on the wall, and I got a couple of bookcases here, kind of like lining where the staircase is, and then the living room is actually on a diagonal when you first walk in. I quite liked that. And then there's going to be a table behind there. I used some of those paintings from Werewolves that have Vlad scratched out. Like, they hate vampires, but they live next to one. So I think that's going to be fun. I also, it's a little gross, but I added some of the newspapers on the floor all around that had some pee spots on them from cats and dogs. And there's like broken things and scratches and tears, and just, this place is kind of trashed because rampaging werewolves, it makes sense to me. I also got some like boxes and this little broken lamp. There's pizza boxes everywhere, all sorts of takeout. I liked the idea of that. So I'm using a lot of debug items for that. Some bags of trash and a little cone over there, more piles of trash, just trying to make it look as lived in as possible. I also end up using some of these beds upstairs, which are from Eco Lifestyle. They're from the dumpster, which was perfect. And then I'm grabbing some of these sleeping bags. I use a few in that room there. And then downstairs, I end up putting one in this back room, which I was kind of imagining was like a skill building / office space. You'll see what I mean when we get to that. But this is going to be the dining table. I only have 3 chairs at it, and they're all different chairs. And then I end up getting some posters and stuff on the walls over here as well. I was thinking they were just kind of thrown about. Maybe some of the chairs are broken, so they only have 3 left. And you can see they're in various states of how well put together they are. One's got lots of missing paint. One looks like it's barely holding on. One looks kind of normal, but it's a little bit worn. And then I got a bunch of decor up here as well. We got some like open cans and cereal and pots and pans and just all sorts of stuff. I had a blast decorating the space because I love decorating like trashed interiors in The Sims. I've said this before, but it's some of my favorite things to do. I've done so many things like this now, and anytime I get the chance to do it, or we get more like these different wall decals that came with For Rent, I just love them so much. And that mirror from the Werewolves pack I put in here, this is like a gym in this space. I thought it was going to be more skill building, but I guess it is still. It's just specifically the athletic skill, or is that what it's called? The athletic skill? I think it is. So I got a bunch of posters in there and dirt, and I think it came out really cute. And there's a sleeping bag for an extra sim. And then upstairs, I'm working on the bedrooms and the bathroom. The bathroom, I didn't really have room to fit the sink in there and a toilet. So I put the sink in the hallway, and I decided to use one of the squat toilets because that felt very similar to how werewolves pee anyway. So I decided to put that. And then I am just decorating the bedrooms, getting some, decor in here, mostly scuffs on the walls and some weird posters, and, making them look dirty and barely lived in, because I feel like this is just a crashing spot for these werewolves. They're mostly outside and doing their own thing. And so I just wanted it to be messy, and they just crash here. They sleep here, and they're probably not too concerned with how it looks. So that was the whole concept here. And I feel like it works really nicely for the fact that I don't imagine the neighbors get along, because they all kind of keep their homes and their lives very different, as they are 3 very different occults. And if you decide to play with this and you actually play with those 3 occults living on the same lot, I would love to hear what happens. Please share screenshots with me if you decide to play with this. I'm Gryphi over on Twitter. I'm Gryphi most places. So I would love to see that if you decide to play with this. And I believe I said it in the beginning of the video, but if you do like this build and you'd like to download it, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will also be in the description down below. And we're just finishing up the top floor. And I'm going to give you a word to comment in the comments if you are still watching right now. And that is going to be Birdhouse. So if you're still watching at this point, like a minute from the end of the video, type Birdhouse down below so I know that you're still watching. Partially because I added a birdhouse to the kitchen, and partially because right now at Target, in their like dollar spot in the front of the store, like Bullseye Playground, they have mini birdhouses. And because we have a birdhouse in the kitchen problem, I decided to buy one. So I have it on my desk. So I am having birdhouses on the mind right now. It's so cute. Anyway, upstairs, just getting some more scuffs on the walls and a place for your Sims to do some woodworking. There's a couch up here. Just a bunch of stuff. There's even a keg. So if your Sims want to do some drinking up here, I feel like this is like the party house. I feel like your Sims are going to have a lot of fun here. But it's quite a mess, so if your Sims don't like that, they might not want to visit the Werewolves house. But I thought it told a good story, and I'm fairly happy with it. Just decorating the backyard now. I got a couple of planters out here, some overgrown grass. I didn't imagine they kind of kept up with their backyard either, but they use the backyard, so it's not as overgrown as the vampire one, which isn't being used. So I just have a couple of things out here. I think it's primarily just the planters. Do I add anything else? I think just a trash can and these vertical planters over here. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and click that bell to be notified when I upload. Thank you so very much for watching, and enjoy the screenshots. Bye, everyone.